Hi, I'm Stuart Clayton and welcome back to Lick Library. This is the fourth in a series of slap and pop lessons. And in this lesson we're going to look at machine gun triplets, which sound like this. Okay, now these are generally performed with a combination of thumb slaps, left hand slaps and popped notes. And we're going to look at two different machine gun triplet patterns in this lesson. Now before we do, I'll explain the left hand slap. Now back in lesson 1 we were using the left hand as a muting device where we were just laying it on the string to stop the string from ringing, like so. We're going to develop that now to actually sound some dead notes, like so. And it's through this combination of using both hands that we're able to play machine gun triplets. Now the first exercise is going to be a three-note pattern, and we're going to start with the thumb, a slap, a left-hand slap, followed by another thumb slap. Okay, so we're going to have a triplet. Okay, let's try that a little bit faster. Okay, and you should be able to develop that into 16th note triplets. Now this sounds rather complicated rhythmically, but it's essentially just like drumming on a tabletop with your fingers. And if you can do that, you should be able to get this technique together. Okay, now quite often a popped note will follow this triplet that we've looked at. So we'll have a thumb slap, a left hand, a thumb, and a pop. So we end up with this. And if you can speed that up. Okay, so now we're going to look at some bass grooves that make use of this first machine gun triplet pattern. This first one is going to be in the key of E, so we're going to be using an open string key. Here we go. Okay, so that was a very busy slap groove that made use of machine gun triplets. I'm just going to dissect that line for you slowly. The first figure was a basic slap and pop with hammer-on figure. I followed that with a machine gun triplet and a hammer-on from the D to the E. The second bar started in the same way as the first with that slap and pop hammer-on figure. Then I played two machine gun triplets from the open E and landing on the B as a pop note. And then the second half of the exercise was essentially the same, but I went from the open A string rather than the open E. And then the final bar. And rather than doing two popped notes on the B, I do an open A machine gun triplet onto the E at fret 9 of the G string, and a machine gun triplet from the open A to the G at the 12th fret. Okay, so be sure to download the music for that one from the website and take your time with it. We're going to look now at another machine gun triplet exercise, and this is going to be going from the key of B, so we're going to be using fretted notes and machine gun triplets. And you should find they work just as well. They're a little bit more difficult to execute because you haven't got the comfort of the open strings. You have this this kind of fretted note you've always got to keep in mind, but with practice you should find it's just as easy to execute. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that was a machine gun triplet line from a fretted note. Okay, so we went from the B, and I popped the D at the same fret. Now when you're doing this, it's actually best to jump from your first finger on the fretted note, the B, and jump that first finger across onto the D. And use the rest of your fingers to perform the left-hand slap. Okay, now I went from there to an ascending line, just basic slap and pop technique. The second bar was exactly the same, just the note choices were different. Got a descending pattern there that takes us down to the A. So the third bar, we play the same figure but from A. Now in this example, because the pops note isn't on the same fret as the A, we keep the use the fourth finger for that and keep the first finger on the A. And in the final bar, we just have a chromatic walk up back to the B. Okay, so that's the first machine gun triplet pattern. We're going to look at the second pattern now. Now this second pattern is another three-note pattern, and it starts with a popped note, followed by a left-handed slap, followed by a thumb slap. Okay, it goes like this slowly. Okay, now it's possible to build this up slowly. Until you've got quite fast triplets going. Now once again, it sounds very impressive and it's very rhythmic, but anyone that can just drum on a tabletop using their hands should find this quite an easy technique to get to grips with. Okay, let's look at a couple of exercises that put this to use. This one is in the key of E, once again, the slap player's favourite. Here we go. Okay, so in that exercise I performed a machine gun triplet on the first beat of every bar. So in the first bar, we have a machine gun triplet starting from the popped E onto the low E, and then it's basic slap and pop technique for the rest of the bar. The second bar is a machine gun triplet from the C sharp onto the open A string. And then I ascend using the A sharp and the B on the E string. The third bar was the same as the first, and in the final bar there's a series of machine gun triplets from the chord of C down to B. So we're going to pop the E and fret the C below it. I'm doing this with the same finger again and using the other fingers to perform the left-hand slaps. And then you just move the whole thing down a fret. Okay, so now let's look at a final exercise that makes use of the machine gun triplet pattern 2. Okay, so that final exercise was a fast funk groove in A minor. The first bar starts off with a machine gun triplet from the G, and we use chord tones of C rather, and A, and then we use some pentatonic fills, and then some basic root octave slap and pop. The third bar is the same again as the first. And in the final bar, it's basic slap and pop once again, but I did throw in a machine gun triplet on the third beat. So we have... So that's a machine gun triplet from a fretted note. Okay, so that second machine gun triplet pattern can be used from open strings and from fretted notes. We've looked at an exercise that can help you practice both methods of doing so. So in this lesson as a whole, we've looked at 2 different machine gun triplet patterns and various ways you can integrate that into your slap playing. I hope that's been of some use to you. Do let me know, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks.